Good morning. Juicier day than normal. Excited to dive into some of the stuff that we're talking about today. Love a little juice on the morning show here. Nick will be with us in just a second. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. NFL season right around the corner. Games start next week. Used to be a football fan. Can't really do the broadcast anymore myself. I can't do the whole we saw this in week 5. I can't do it. I understand the sport's brilliant. I can't do the broadcast. Clemente, you're a big fan?
Yeah, I'm so fired up. Had my first draft on last Sunday. I told you and Nick that I've been listening to some sports podcasts about fantasy football, and I was kind of shocked at the similarities between how they talk about players and how we speculate on NFTs. It's like Jonathan Taylor was seen limping at the very end of practice, in his stock ADP, his draft will drop by 3 spots the next day. And then right when someone will draft someone, they'll send them an insane amount of DMs and stuff. So it's super interesting to see the similarities. But yeah, I'm fired up. I'm excited.
Well, people take it just as serious as if they have, I guess they do technically have a little bit of money on it. Nick, you look excited to talk about fantasy football.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, it is exactly the same. And then what they do is they rug pull everybody because they go out, they murder the player. And then they say, oh, we decided to take a break. We're not going to be doing this anymore. That's my favorite part of the fantasy draft, is just the sort of rug pull activity that's going on.
Naturally, the people that run the NFL, they decide, 8% of the way through the season, there's a little bit too much work. We're just going to rug pull everyone and not continue to build this multi-billion-dollar NFL business. Nick, are you going to be participating in fantasy football? Is that something you do?
Well, last year I participated in this 1 ETH draft, and I got second place, but I chose not to do it this year. 1 ETH is quite a gamble. Easy. Are you in that draft?
No, I'm in 4 others. So I was like, I just don't have time for it.
You're in 4 others. Okay. Well,
yeah, I love
I'm
fantasy
in
football.
0.
This is my life for every Sunday. I'm on the couch from 11 a.m. watching pregame stuff until 10.
Are you changing that up this year, and you're going to be going to sit on the bench in the basketball gym while other people work out? And you'll
no, I'll get that done very early. Pick up on Sundays 9 a.m. to 11, so it won't affect my schedule.
So we have Clemente pulled up a tweet right now from Deez. A lot of people know who Deez is, at Deez. He said, you don't realize how bad the bear market is until you ask the NFT bros to run back more 1+ Ethereum fantasy leagues. Last year, ETH was 1,100, but we still had some. So I guess there isn't as much appetite to take people's 1 Ethereum size when it comes to fantasy leagues. But Nick, I feel like you're the kind of guy that has a lot of luck with that stuff, and you would do quite well in a fantasy league despite not being glued to the screen like Easy maybe just pointed out that he'll be doing.
I am pretty damn good at fantasy football. Last year, I think I came in 2nd overall of this 1 ETH challenge, and these people were so serious about it, but and they were active in the chat, and they were talking about this stuff, and I'm just I'm just gonna dominate you suckers. But the basic, yeah, dude, you don't need to watch football in order to play I don't watch football, so I just do fantasy football because the numbers are interesting. So I think to that degree, Clemente is probably right, except in the NFT space, you get to look at some pictures, which is nice. You get familiar with the player names over the season, even though you have no idea what's going on. And I will watch the score during the Sundays. Someone says auto drafts and win. I don't auto draft. Okay?
Oh, he says I don't auto draft. Not me, amigo. I'm not the one.
No. I mean, you got to be key about which order you get it in. Last year, they introduced me to a whole other draft strategy or structure where you could play 2 quarterbacks at the same time, basically. And
There's
so
a 2 QB league. I hate those.
And so I just drafted 2 QBs right out the gate, whereas everyone else was focused on running backs. Easy had all of the running backs in the entire league. but it didn't matter because I had 2 quarterbacks that were just consistent.
Very good quarterbacks too.
Yeah.
I forget who you had, but you had 2 of like the top 10. It was like,
For
dude,
some
what the hell?
reason, somehow that was a brilliant strategy, which like I had literally just Googled how to play that particular fantasy structure. I forget what they call it when you're allowed 2 QBs, but I just went and looked it up and they were like, yeah, you want to get good quarterbacks. So I'm like, okay. So
Nick making it easy. Everybody else trying to reinvent the wheel. Nick just comes through, takes some quarterbacks and wins. Sig, is there anything less interesting to you than fantasy football here? Have you ever watched an American football broadcast?
The only thing less interesting is actually having to watch the game and hear it live. What you're all saying right now is all Samoan to me. I'm hearing English, I'm hearing sentences, I'm hearing words, and then Nick puts it together in a sentence, and I am like, I have no clue what you're talking about. I am so out of the whole fantasy. Sorry, not soccer, football, whatever. Totally get it. But I just don't watch the NFL. I don't know the rules. I don't know the players. Tom Brady could walk past me in the street. I wouldn't know who that guy is. I just know the name Tom Brady. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling like I'm outside of the bar right now drinking milk.
Well, first, I'm drinking milk right there with you. We got milk and cookies there chilling because during the NFL broadcast, when they're just like, oh, and he tucked the ball in, he secured the ball. I can't do like the Chris Collinsworth old white guy NFL broadcast. If they spice it up a little bit, I'll definitely be back. They are just shoving ads down your throat. But I do think the sport is great. Got a little bit of experience playing the sport. It's a fun one. I just can't do the New York, go to a dive bar, have a bunch of like 20-something-year-old dudes around me burping, drinking cheap beer. I can't do it.
He was just talking about his relationships, basically. That was the problem with one of the previous girls he dated. But the thing I was going to say, sorry for bringing that up, but that's like the a sub-segment of the dating pool is those who are just hanging out at the bar on Sunday watching football. Look, American football does at least bring the seasons changing vibe.
Big time.
It makes me think of like just being indoors, especially the holidays as well. Makes me think of a lot of those.
Well, I'm talking about New York, right? I'm talking about the New York scene. However, when I lived in SoCal, I was down to pull up because you pull up by the beach bar and you're like hanging out by the beach watching football. People aren't even really watching it. It's just more of a beach party with football on the screen. I'm about that. I just don't want to do the like be inside all day on Sunday in New York City in a dive bar, drinking cheap beer and like eating horrible nachos. And then like the tab comes back and everybody owes like $125. I'm like, nah, it's not my
Sounds
thing.
like it was a very specific experience for Pia where he was like, and
Go to the
Johnny
city.
was there. I hate when Johnny's there every single time. And he's always being a dick to me.
I
He's
can tell.
always
Skips
being
the
a dick.
bill. He orders 16 pitches for himself. He loses a ton of money betting, and I'm stuck footing it.
I can tell that Clemente's about to be diving headfirst into this, but Clemente's 23, 24. He's new to New York. It's going to be fun for him. We'll see if he still wants to do it when he's like 28, 29. But anyway, other story besides NFT stuff is Disney stock has hit a 9-year low. It's down 26% over the past 12 months. Last month, the CEO, Bob Iger, said that he's considering the sale of their traditional TV networks like
ESPN.
ABC, and they're exploring strategic partnerships for ESPN. His contract was extended 2 more years. He'll be the CEO until 2026. He's known to be like one of the world's best CEOs and best operators. He's been the CEO for Disney since the beginning of this year. I feel like it was longer than that, but only since the beginning of this year. Nick,
Well,
we
he
were
was there
talking
before and then came back.
Okay. Nick, we were talking about this recently, the shift in media that feels like it's been inevitable, but it's taking so long. Ebrink said that's what everyone meant that when they said they were going to be the next Disney, as in they were going to get dumped on somebody else. They're just going to get sold. Nick, is this the beginning of a change in media where we finally fully break down this, we break down the sort of traditional media thing? One example real quick is if you buy the NBA package, like the $200 season pass, because you're like, I want to watch basketball. I'm a basketball fan. I'm going to buy this year long.
Easy does. Yeah.
Maybe he does. I don't know if he does. The reason that you wouldn't is, let's say you're a Celtics fan and you live in Boston and you want to buy this league pass. You're unable to watch the majority of the Celtics games because of weird blackout rules that have to do with the contract that Disney and ESPN have.
Is the thing. It's like your local channels get them, so you have to watch it on local. I do pay for League Pass, by the way. Of course, it's part of my TV package, which is actually just like some Hulu thing. But besides the point, I love League Pass because, like, dude, I love watching the Pelicans. That's like the one team I just.
But it could be better, right? Easy, if
way better. Because like there's randomly a game in like San Antonio that I can't watch, and now all of a sudden I'm like finding a stream for it.
The VPN.
Exactly.
Can I just re-queue up that question? Disney's stock is down significantly. It's up in the past couple of days. And Nick, what is your thoughts on the entire media industry? Specifically, why the fuck is it so difficult for me with these football passes?
Basketball passes.
Hold on, these are two separate. Like I feel
you're
like
just not good enough to answer it. You don't have the skills to answer the question.
No, I can answer the question, but I just think also Disney has a lot of different subcomponents of it. I mean, they're a massive media conglomerate, including Disney World, including a bunch of old movies that they own, including a bunch of different studios that I'm sure that they own. I think that don't they own Pixar also?
Yep.
Yes.
So like there is like a bunch of different sub-components of Disney. The reality is, and I think the biggest thing that they're facing, and the fact with this whole writer's strike thing and everything else, I mean, yeah, the media business sucks. And the writers and the studios are busy bitching over it when like the writers are complaining about it because like over an old model that like, whereas like the YouTubers are just like, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. like they're just like focused on like going and creating content. And there are YouTubers as well that produce high quality content. The problem is like, it's difficult, similar to like journalism, where like they were like, this is the death of investigative journalism, which maybe it has been, is that like, there's not a model to take that insane risk associated with like crazy ideas that exist. But that said, you can always go and do private fundraising if you really want. And there's like, it's not like rich people are gone. So I think that like there is some sort of approach to financing, funding the different media projects. That said, like traditional television, a lot of these other things are just being kind of disrupted. What's interesting also is that the stock has dropped so much, dude. It was at 197 and it's now 84. I mean, the 197 was pretty high. That was also because it was pumping off of, it got the COVID pump, and it also got the Disney Plus pump. But I think people started realizing that they don't really watch Disney Plus all that often unless you got kids, because they don't have that much great content on it. And so now people are just like, this is the fuck Disney Plus drop, I think is how I would describe this. Everyone dives into other logistics, but I like to view the market through a simplistic lens. And but do they also own Hulu?
That I don't know. Does Disney own Hulu? But does
no. Hulu's owned by a collective, right?
That I'm not sure about. I don't have Hulu. Disney owns 67%.
Yeah,
okay,
majority stake.
There you go. So we all just Googled at the same time.
And NBC's a minority stake.
Wait, so who does?
Comcast's NBC Universal holds a minority
Fox.
stake.
I thought Fox does. Anyways, that's enough about that. I don't like. Dude, the biggest thing is like Disney does have great assets. They're trading at $154 billion market cap. They have annual revenue of $83 billion. Compare that with that was 2022, $83 billion. That's a huge growth story for a company like Disney.
Yeah.
And I just think that like I don't think Disney is just disappearing. I like this stock here. Maybe I'm probably gonna pick up a little bit of Disney, you know? This is bigger than you know, I've been debating, is it Moonbirds or Disney stock? And here I am making the Disney stock trade.
Look at that.
There we go.
I mean, You know, your commentary on the actors and writers strike is interesting. I'm not going to say this too loud. My neighbor over here is an actor. I don't want him to hear me right now. I do worry about my neighbors hearing me.
You're whispering that small that you're. I don't want him to hear me because he's going to find out that I think that his job is a scam.
No, yeah, well, I mean, so he is a working actor, right? And he dyed his hair. Well, when the strike came, he dyed his hair green, and he went on like a multi-month Euro bender. And he just got back. I just saw him the other day. I was like, "Oh, you've been out of town?" He's like, "Yeah, I was in Europe. I went." And then he just named like 18 places that he went, and I was like, "Sounds like an electric trip." He's like, "Yeah, it was, yeah." And he's like, "I can't work." So, and I'm just like, I mean, you could probably go on YouTube and do something, you know. But anyway,
well, that I was chatting with the writer. There's actually a guy I know who's a Hollywood writer. I'm not going to name him, but he was basically. I was chatting with him the other day, and he said, I was like, so because he's working on a movie right now, and I was like, so you're not writing? He was like, well. He was basically like, I do a little bit of writing. Like there's no way if you're like in the midst of something that some like project you were working on and you like have all these ideas percolating, you're not like, oh, well, the writer's strike is going on. He's like basically probably like puts a poster on the window to be like, yeah, writer's strike while he's like in there, you know.
Well, we paid the Nifty paid. Oh, well, I mean, no, I'm just going to say nobody cares. We paid a writer during this strike, right? So we had a guy and Andrew. Oh. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today
What's the
we are
last
going.
name? You got the social?
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss the SEC's charge against the NFT project Impact Theory and its $6.1 million cease and desist penalty. We're going to talk about Friend.Tech's big mistake last night and the CryptoDickbutts ownership transfer countdown. Nick's excited about that story. He thinks that that's worth our time. Anyway,
great. We can get Sergito on stage to talk about CryptoDickbutts. Have some bag holder bias here.
Spencer too. Anyway, Signal, please take it away. Weather reporter extraordinaire.
I love it. You Americans need to learn how to strike. Like, you work so hard when you're striking, you're still working. You guys need to come over to France or to England and just take a little like leaf out of the book. When you strike, no work. We don't pick up bins. We don't have a metro. We don't get public transport. If you need to go to the hospital, there are no doctors, okay? That is what a strike is, okay? Can we, come on, guys. I know you're smarter. Anyway, Tuesday.
It's like the 1800s over there.
Basically, that's Europe. Anyway, guys, Tuesday, August the 29th, it is coming fast into fall. Market volume at 9.1 million, Blur 3.9, OpenSea at 2.7. If we're looking at the price action, well, on the higher caps, there wasn't a lot of major movement. Outside of captains, only seeing a tiny little rally, about up 10% in the last 24 hours to just over 4 ETH. The 9gag collection has followed suit from the rest of the mid caps, seeing about a 20% rally in the last 7 days. Over to CryptoDickbutts. This is the winner of the day as someone has swept 28 of them, bringing the floor up to 1 ETH. There is less than 1 week until the ownership of the project is handed over to the largest community owner. On to Sproto Gremlins, and this has continued to fall from its all-time high. It was one of the biggest winners of the quarter, but it's now down to 0.8 ETH. That's down nearly 50% in the last week, as the Bitcoin token is also down 50% in the last week, but it still has a $82 million market cap, so it's not quite at zero there. On to some other top stories in the last 24 hours. Crypto content creator BitBoyCrypto has been removed from the BitBoyCrypto brand and company with the removal announcement citing substance abuse and financial damage to the company. Bye-bye, BitBoy. On to Yuga, and Yuga continues to hire elite Web2 talent, bringing on Michael Gorey as the new VP. He has over 10 years of experience on product merchandising with Coach, Adidas, and Nike. So I think we're going to see some cool designs coming out of Yuga later this year. NFT Stats has reported that the Nouns daily auction prices, they're going up, hitting highs not seen since May. This is largely due to a proposal which allows for a fork. If the fork is passed, then the Nouns which are on the new fork will be able to receive the ETH back from the treasury at a price per noun rate. And lastly, Friend.Tech has caught huge major backlash after announcing that if any users are caught using other platforms which are similar to Friend.Tech, their account will be opted out of earning points and their existing points will be forfeited. The tweet would quickly gain hundreds and thousands of views and has since been deleted with no updated policy released yet. That is all for today on the Weather Report. It is back to you guys in the studio.
Great weather report, Sig, as usual. Real quick, leave this up, Clemente. Go on, leave that back up. I want to show you one NFT comment. I'm not going to name the person, but I'm going to read the comment.
Name him.
This sounds like something that should be illegal in the business industry. Nick, are you familiar with the business industry?
Yeah, hero bitbob.24p is well, I mean, it sounds like a dumb idiot.
Okay, all right.
Shout out to Hero
right.
BitBob.
Okay.
We should Hero BitBob. This should be illegal inside the brain head component.
Right, Nick. Well, first of all, that was not that good of a joke, Nick. You could have done better. Also, last night we went to dinner with Spencer.
I don't know. I was improving. It took me a second there to see what is the 24p because he's a film person.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, but this guy's going to try to cancel you now. But last night at dinner with Spencer, Nick kept making this joke that like nobody wanted or cared about, and he kept making it to the waiter, like making the waiter uncomfortable. Something about like the celiac.
I made the joke once.
You made it to us. You workshopped it with us multiple times. It wasn't good, like that funny with us.
You're acting like a lot of time was spent on it. I said.
You called something celiac. That's not celiac.
I said something with the celiac disease, and the waiter enjoyed it.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
He thought it was funny because it was like celiac or well, I forget what the.
You're talking about celeriac, the vegetable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I said, and I ordered some dish with the celiac disease was the way that I just like butchered it, and so he thought it was funny. Okay.
Okay.
Look, you got to keep throwing out ideas, Pio. That's how you end up coming up with ideas. You got to just throw it out. You got to just toss it out. You got to workshop it live and see if it comes back. And look, sometimes first 2 people laugh, then 200,000 people laugh with you, Pio.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of the trajectory that I'll be experiencing within my comedy career. Okay, so I'm looking forward to selling out Madison Square Garden with the celiac disease jokes that I'm making at dinner right now. I'm going to rub that shit in your face. And I'm going to make sure that I make those tickets so expensive you can only sit in the far back row out in the distance. I'm actually going to tell the security that you're not welcome there.
So Nick K, another Nick, said, ha, 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 let's laugh about colon cancer. Classic Nick. Pretty funny stuff. But anyway, Nick, what I will say is that I do think that there could be a future
it's not colon cancer. It's gluten. It starts
a gluten
with
allergy.
Gluten allergy, okay? And we all know that it's fake news. It's a bullshit allergy anyways. Nobody even has any of that stuff. Gluten, you're supposed to absorb as much of it as possible.
Well, there you go. So anyway, I do think that there's a future in Nick trolling people in real life after the videos he posted from the weekend. So look, diving.
Last note on that, actually, Pio. I just want to make one comment. We're on a business call yesterday with a potential partner, and the first thing he brings up when I go on is that video.
Yeah, he loved it.
But it made me think, I was like, is it bad that I'm creating, like, I'm going into a business meeting following me posting some video of me trolling somebody basically in real life. And we're like, yeah, I'm trying to close a a
$50,000 deal.
yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah, like trying to close that contract, and he's like, "Oh, that was just hilarious."
Look, man, you got to be yourself, and I think it's worth doing it. So some updates from the Nifty Daily Digest, which is the daily newsletter. Subscribe at thenifty.com. You need to have an account at thenifty.com to claim the free NFTs we give away almost daily. The SEC has charged the company behind the NFT collection Impact Theory with conducting an unregistered $30 million NFT offering, and the company has agreed to a cease and desist and is going to pay $6.1 million in fines and penalties. We are going to talk about this. The digital toy company Cryptoys has announced that their next drop will feature Disney's Mickey Mouse 3 months after partnering with Star Wars for a drop earlier this year. So Cryptoys getting, speaking of Disney, some big partnerships here. 38 finalists have been selected by the Council of Lucy, and their observations have been marked in the Monument Game 1 of 1 with an orange circle and a mask of Lucy. The 3 final winners will each be able to burn their player edition in exchange for a skull of Lucy. I saw the picture that they posted from the New York meetup of the skull of Lucy. Not a cult, as Sam's putting it. I think it's super funny the way that they are doing this whole thing, making it look like a cult and all that. This picture right here, is that bald guy on the table the other bald bidder from the picture with Spencer? Is that it is, Clemente? That's so funny. Is, yeah. That's so funny. I also think a little Easter egg. I think Ferocious is over there on the left. I think I recognize that hair. Yeah. So must be a definitely a very cool meeting. I love that they do this. They throw the masks on and take like a fine art photo in black and white. It's hilarious. Anyway, those are your updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. Sign up at thenifty.com. First quick story, and then we'll dive into the SEC thing, is Friend.Tech and their thing that I guess shouldn't be allowed in the business industry, as a very insightful commenter on NFT Twitter put. They tweeted that they're going to delete anyone that uses competitors or copies of Friend.Tech, and they'll have their airdrop points removed. Obviously, there was a negative reaction. I don't really care about this because they can obviously fix this. But my thing is, are they trying to actually build a real platform for the long term? Because I think there is potential here, because you got a price attached to people on social media, and we know that attaching a price to things absolutely works in the crypto industry. And actually, you know, NBA Top Shot and Nifty Gateway, they've shown it can work outside the crypto industry and actually attract new users. That's where I go. I don't know, Easy, what do you think of the whole Friend.Tech situation?
There's a competitor that launched yesterday, SharesGram, I think was what it was. They launched a token, and that got the Friend.Tech team quite nervous, it would seem. They posted those comments. Racer, one of the founders of it, then posted an apology in which he also deleted. So now you have both those messages deleted, basically saying, like, I should not have posted that. I was operating out of fear. I don't know. Like, right now we're already seeing volume dwindle on Friend.Tech. Seems like it was the hot button topic for like 2 weeks. People are already declaring victory over it and saying that it's dead. I still think people are going to try to farm whatever potential those points are and see where that goes. But like right now, I don't think it's like, it just doesn't have that kind of pizzazz. Like we saw it with BitClout, we saw it with Rally, 2 previous applications for SocialFi. I think someone will get SocialFi right. It's a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. But I don't know if this is the best path forward. What they released too was like very early on, and then we got pictures, and that kind of shifted who the big players were on Friend.Tech to the adult entertainment industry versus what it was previously, which was largely crypto Twitter and like trading journals. And yeah, now you just see a lot of people kind of like moving away and moving on from it, where some people are just holding shares. Retention rate on it is big, but other than that, it's not many daily active users. Volume's kind of slowing down. I'm not sure where it goes from here, but I like the 2 people who created it. I think they're really smart and they've been around the space for a while. One of them is very doxed. The other, Racer, is one of the devs behind it who's done a ton of like gas optimization stuff. So 2 very intelligent people, and I'm curious to keep tabs on it, but I'm not going to be heavily involved in like trading keys or shares or whatever they are.
Okay, Nick, what do you think that there's anything that we're going to be talking about in 6 months with this thing, or you think it's just going to not continue to? I mean, I feel like if they keep building it, it will be around. Like, it's interesting. It is interesting to attach.
Paradigm backed.
Paradigm backed?
Yeah, Paradigm backed it.
I don't think that really, I mean, I know everyone's like, yeah, it's Paradigm back, blah, blah, blah. But like, you have to think about how many bets a VC takes, right?
They take 1,000.
They're going to take thousands of bets, and they're going to hope that one of them is going to be the big winner. I don't know. Like this doesn't feel like right now, speaking today, it doesn't feel like the big winner. If they change their roadmap and how they're interacting with users and the UI and, you know, all the feedback we've been seeing across the community, maybe. But I just think saying like it's paradigm backed shouldn't be the reason like people think, you know, it's going to make it as an app because
I
they've
don't know if they
invested
make
in
it, but I
lots of
think
apps.
6 months it'll still be around is my bigger statement. Like I think that in 6 months they'll still be shipping stuff. I just don't know if we'll really have any care about it is like the bigger thing.
Yeah.
If Facebook can't launch a Twitter competitor, then Friend.Tech, I don't think is going to pull this thing off. They also don't seem like their core fundamental understanding of how to operate a social network is strictly based on monetary incentive. And I think that I don't know any of your friends who are the super rich person who's in there, but who's also just kind of super annoying. I don't know if you've experienced this, but these people do exist, especially when you're in college, where you're like, oh, that person's like crazy rich, and then you like hang out with them, and you're like, but they suck. And I feel like relationships driven strictly based on money usually are not the best relationships, and to have the engagement built based on primarily speculation and short-term speculation is just not sustainable. I understand the idea of this existing. Where this has mostly succeeded, I think, in the social app space is primarily around sex. And I think, or porn or whatever you want to call it, is where most of this activity goes on. Call it even like, I'm sure there's like paid dating sort of situations as well. But it's not clear that like the price associated with somebody floating prices, volatile prices makes for quality content essentially, or like ensures quality content. And I think that like if we didn't see the majority of people transition from Patreon style monetization to NFTs, I don't think we're going to see Mr. Beast launching himself on this sort of platform. And so the reality is that just doesn't exist. I'm way more bullish on if there's a risk that you're willing to place a bet on, go bet on X, you know, instead of Friend.Tech, and try and build something there. There's a lot of people making thousands of dollars a month right now, which to me is like insane, because for you to get to the point where you're making that amount on YouTube is quite challenging. I think it's way more accessible to pull that off right now on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. And so that to me seems like a way better path. And we've had this conversation before. Whoever gets the creators with platforms, it was whoever got the developers. I feel the exact same way. If you're able to attract the developers and the creators, that's what is going to win. And right now, I think that Twitter/X is the place where that's going. I still hate the name X. So that's why I still even reference Twitter. Like, that's why I think that that's a way better place to go operate. And I just don't see Friend.Tech having any relevance whatsoever. It's as relevant as all the other bullshit that people flip in this space, which is a bunch of garbage. Like that. So I think that it's not relevant. Like no one gives a shit in the masses. If you were to make a deep dive video on CryptoDickbutts, 50 people are going to watch that shit on YouTube with the best production level and everything else. Nobody cares. And I think the exact same thing about Friend.Tech. The majority of the world does not give a shit, and I don't see them giving a shit about this. So I don't think it's going to be relevant. I think it's going to be dead within 6 months, maybe 12 months. It's not worth anything.
It's definitely a tall task to have it sustain relevance for sure. And I mean, look, I think what Nick said about CryptoDickbutts, for example, is very accurate in the sense that, like, let's say we made this incredibly well-produced video about CryptoDickbutts. That would basically be like making a video about a single niche Magic the Gathering card, but even that actually would have significantly more reach, significantly more.
When you look up Google Trends about Magic the Gathering, it's actually insane.
Popular.
There's a trading card, TCGplayer.com. This site is basically the open sea of trading cards. And if you look up their traffic volume on there, and you can do that by going to SimilarWeb and you type in TCGplayer.com. They get something like 19 million visits a month. And their top keywords are all driven around Magic the Gathering. 77% of their traffic is in the US, meaning they have disposable income. It's a valuable audience that they have. And it was interesting. I'm blanking on who owns now the equivalent, which is the Dungeons and Dragons IP. There's like a Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out. And when we went to the licensing expo, I remember walking the floor, and the company that owned it was like Mattel, I think, owns Dungeons and Dragons IP or something like that, or one of the other major toy companies. They weren't talking about Barbie. They were talking about Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons being their biggest growth area. That's something where, to your point, like, I actually think you could go and talk about one individual card and have a huge reach.
Way more reach.
And nobody in the NFT space seems to give a shit. But we're talking about like CryptoDickbutts. Nobody at that like conference, no mass consumer cares about it. So if you want audience, that's the place where you should go and operate, is really within that particular industry. And it's a growth space like that. That's what, these toy companies are basically saying, that Hasbro and Mattel. I think Hasbro is the one that owns the IP for Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty insane. Like, the NFT space is such a weird, it's such an odd niche, basically, because it's pulled in the people beyond crypto. But dude, last comment on this. I was at a Russian tea house place on Sunday, which I never would have gone to, but obviously my girlfriend's Russian, and we were like at this place, and I go into the bathroom, and someone's like, "Yo, XRP tokens, the shit," written on the wall inside of this place. And I was like, who's the person that's like tagging the bathroom with this, like this random thought? Like, it was so ridiculous. But that's the niche we operate in, is people that are hyper passionate amongst 50 other people. Like,
it's the bottom of the first bear market for the niche. So probably felt this way in 2012 for Bitcoin too. Actually, I think if you talk to people that were around then, they say that it certainly felt this way. So we'll have to see how it develops. Big story for today that we're going to discuss: impact theory charged by the SEC. There was a tweet from somebody that pointed out that the SEC was going to want to get one of these cases in before the end of their fiscal year, I believe. I believe it was fiscal year, maybe different term for it. Their year, I guess, ends. It's not the fiscal year, right? Because this wouldn't end at this time. But the SEC's 12-month period, or whatever, their cycle, whatever you want to call it, ends September 30th. And so someone pointed out, before this charge came through, they're going to want to get something else in the door before September 30th, because they're going to want to have something to sell for funding. You know what I mean? Say, look what we did. Look what we got across the line before the end of the year. And lo and behold, they come through and they charge impact theory. So we covered this live on the show. Tom Bilyeu himself actually came on the show a couple times back in the day. This was almost 2 years ago now, actually right around 2 years ago. This project had a tough go of it from the beginning. They raised a bunch of money because they had 3 levels for the collection. If you weren't in the NFT space in late 2021, there were 3 levels of the collection. There was one level at 0.1 ETH. There was one at one at 1 ETH, and one at 3 Ethereum. And this is with Ethereum going into its literal all-time high of like 4,800. We're cruising right into that. So I don't know the exact price, but it was north of 3,000, probably north of 3,500. So it was a $30 million primary sale before, you know, things went crazy. I think Mutant Apes were 3 Ethereum at this time before their crazy run. So a lot going on here. There was actually a whale that had a ton of the impact theory founder's key, which is 3 Ethereum. He had a ton of them, and he made a big stink in the impact theory Discord, dumped all the impact theories, and swept the floor on Mutant Apes at 3 Ethereum before they went to 40 Ethereum. So that guy did pretty good if he played that the right way. I'm assuming he did. Anyway, at the time, impact theory actually issued a refund to people that minted the NFT. So they've already had some turbulence here. And this is big. You know, you talk about people with a big audience. This is a big audience person. Tom Bilyeu, his YouTube channel has a ton of followers, a ton of subscribers, ton of views. So this is like, there's a lot going on here. I would assume that the folks at Impact Theory are probably not, you know, excited about the way this has played out. Nick, how significant do you think that this is? And do you think there will be any ripple in the NFT space?
I mean, dude, their presentation when he launched this thing, it was an investor pitch deck that he presented as part of the NFT drop. It was so distinct in contrast to every other NFT drop in the sense that like people were just dropping stupid pictures and not promising anything. A lot of them had roadmaps. I will say that. And a lot of people were saying, yo, this roadmap thing makes it way more like a security. And what saying, here's what you get access to. I actually think like saying, here's what you get access to is basically selling a product versus like when you're saying, here's the promise of the future. And he went out and said, we're building the next Disney. You get to be on the ground floor with that. You get to be on the inner circle associated with that. Here are the perks that you get. But he was also making investment promises, basically. It was as clear cut as it could get. And I remember at that time checking out what he had done, and it felt very much like the sort of presentation that an info marketer would make. But where he brought you through 20 different slides. It was a whole investor presentation where he was saying, here's what you're going to get associated with it. Here's where we're headed. Like he really spelled out everything that was going on. And I think from that standpoint, it was like, it was very weird. And so the fact that he's getting tried, I think it was like kind of a layup for the SEC in this case. And something that I'm sort of taking away from a lot of this stuff is the SEC has limited resources. They end up picking cases which are just clear-cut winners for them or close to clear-cut winners or going to get a bunch of press so that the whoever the main leader is within that organization is going to be able to, you know, run for political office or get, you know, have some sort of like name recognition as a result of what they're doing, but they also need to like win that trial that they're doing. So
they
it's
already
really
settled on this too.
Yeah, it's a feather in the cap sort of thing for whoever was trying it. For Tom Bilyeu, this is kind of a win. You know, it's still expensive. I mean, in my mind, it's like he's got to be like, why did I get involved in this whole thing? Because now not only does it not make any revenue, but he's literally on stage having to make a promise. Like I heard him yesterday being like, and we're not going away. Like this is actually really great. It gives us clarity. And he's like, I mean, honestly, credit to him. He's like absorbing all of the costs associated with like gaining some degree of clarity, which I don't think we really needed. Like, don't go make an investor pitch. Like, don't go make a promise that this is the thing that you're doing. Like, I just don't understand where he was like, why he decided to take that on, because any lawyer was going to tell you, don't go do this.
It was pretty early. It was pretty early in the NFT bull run. He was very early. It was an aggressive, call it a fundraise, $30 million. It was kind of the first one that we saw that was at that caliber. Right?
Raised $30 million?
Yeah. Because they sold the founder's key for 3 Ethereum.
It was between 70 and 30 million in a Dutch auction. I think pocketed 29 off of it all, like just slightly under, because I think there was a slight cut. Yeah, it was 29 M's.
Because they
Holy
sold a bunch
shit.
of these 3 Ethereum founders keys with Ethereum at like almost $4,000.
He is building an animation studio. I don't understand. A lot of people talk about this, and I'm like, why the hell would you want to get into that business? Like, I just don't understand.
The animation studio business.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for me. Honestly, like the content business, which requires high production, high effort. I love watching those sorts of YouTube channels to like the guys who went through film school, who literally like learned special effects production.
And Bill, you did. Bill, you went to film school.
That side of stuff is super cool to watch. And it's a place, it's like basically geeking out on technology the same way if you were geeking out on software engineering in Silicon Valley. LA is the place where you're geeking out on some of the technical production stuff that's done. But tracking traditional film production is where it's high cost, low reward, basically, for a lot of those different those things. So they're at the bleeding edge of production. Now AI is coming in and giving you like leverage to actually produce. But why would you want to even be in that space? It just doesn't make sense. And the storytelling space as a whole is really like low reward. Instead, to me, it feels like more of the marketing end for selling the business, but they're saying, well, we're just going to run that side. I don't know. I'm always confused about people operating there because it feels like losing a portion of the business is being like, we're going to tell stories. And I'm like, cool. Where's the money in that? Like,
The money is, I mean, obviously there's room for successful animation studios.
Yeah,
It's
but
hard.
on average, you're just going to lose. Like, it's not going to be high margin. Doodles was able to go buy one of those places. How is Doodles able to go do that? It's because it's low margin. The multiples on a studio is probably like incredibly low.
Sure. I mean, understand you're kind of taking a stand against just building, animation studios and stuff. I mean, if that's what that's what Tom Bilyeu wanted to do. And he went to film school, had a successful exit from Quest Nutrition. They sold that company for, I think, $1 billion. When I worked in LA before the sale, or right around the sale, it was known, Quest Nutrition was known as the fastest growing company in Los Angeles. So he had a massive success. If you listen to interviews with him, I believe he said that his goal was to build the next Disney. It's what the guy wanted to do.
But sorry to interrupt you, but I think like a lot of founders at the time were using this analogy of Disney. I think the difference between Tom and the other founders was that if you remember, I want to say it was, because this is when I used to start writing my daily review of what was said on the date on the morning show. Spaces were not recorded for a really long time, probably like 6-7 months.
Yep.
And when Tom started doing the rounds, spaces were recorded. And I remember like being part of Pixel Vault, being part of VeeFriends. Both of those founders and many others were always saying, imagine if you could have got on the ground with Disney at the time and you could have been part of that growth. The difference is that these conversations were happening on Discord, or they were happening in Discord voice, or they were happening. Yeah, well, actually, those were the only two places those conversations were happening. So I feel like Tom has got hit because of his profile, because of how big he is, but also because this was recorded. And it's very easy today to find that information. If you try and find that information in, the VeeFriends or, Pixel Vault, I'm just using those examples because I was part of those communities. It's much more difficult. It's all in conversations or voice chats, which were never recorded. And I think the SEC have a much stronger case with impact theory than they do with other founders who perhaps have followed the same path, but at the end of the day, not recorded, never happened. So that's why they can go after Tom.
I feel like Gary Vee is actually one that was flirting with risky sort of statements.
Yeah, he did, but it was much more. It was much more in Discord voice chats, which were not recorded at the time, and in Discord chats. Maybe on the YouTube, but not so much at the time. Going back to 2021, but there was definitely that vocabulary around it. All I'm saying is that many founders have done the same thing as Tom, but I think it's like, what are your footprints to that conversations at the time when spaces were not recorded and people, and actually, in fact, spaces were not even a thing. There was like 2 groups.
Well, you couldn't even host your own spaces at that point. It was like in its beta, and it was like hard to, get it going. Clemente just pulled up a tweet from Signal talking about the interview I did with Tom Bilyeu before me and Nick even worked together. And it just brings a smile to my face because that guy, Danny, who I don't think is really in the space anymore, was on the interview, and the whole interview went really smoothly. And then at the end, Danny asked Tom a question, and I don't remember what Tom's response was, but Danny was not pleased with it and goes, F Jesus Christ, stick Buddha up your ass. Tom says he knows the meaning of life. And everyone on the interview was like, what? It's like, it was before we knew that people in the NFT space are straight up wild and they'll say wild shit to somebody. And Tom had requested for that guy to come on the interview specifically. So Tom literally asked for this guy to come on the interview and he just wilds out at the end of the interview with him. It was pretty funny.
I give credit to Tom, though. Tom was like wading into the deep end of crypto at that point in time. And so like, that's the one thing that like, despite, I don't understand why he made the presentation format that he did. Like, I just don't understand. Did you not talk to a lawyer at some point? Why make this sacrifice? I just don't understand why he decided to go down that path. That said, maybe he was like, we're going to be as explicit with it as possible and see if we get sued.
I remember why. I remember why, because it was so expensive at the time. He actually started off with the whole mystery hand, doing the whole, Yuga shrouded in mystery. And
there's a lot that I can't talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot I can't talk about, that whole thing. And people are like, dude, this is like 3 ETH. You better tell us what we're getting. And I remember this was going on in the Discord chats all the time. So then he's like, okay, I'll reveal. And then he came out with like this, pitch deck of everything that was going to happen across the studio. Like there was manga, there was some kind of snowman, so kind of like cartoon Disney
Merry
snowman,
mods,
Merry mods, that was it, all that stuff. And he came out with a lot of detail. So part of it was driven by the community saying, what do you get for 3 ETH? And then part of it was him, I think, thinking that if you reveal more information, people will want to have the keys, because then they can actually say, what is the utility of buying a key at 3 ETH?
Yeah, I mean, look, this was early NFT stuff. It's wild to see it start to unravel a little bit. Hopefully it does offer quote unquote clarity. Nick, any closing thoughts on this?
Not really. I mean, shout out to Tom for taking the bullet, man, voluntarily. Just like literally standing up out of the trenches and being like, I'm here, motherfuckers. Like basically, and then just taking the bullet and be like, I got shot like I expected, but we're marching forward. They only got me in the shoulder, baby.
I mean, yeah, it takes guts, but it seems like he's ready to take it on. All right, look, Spencer was supposed to be here, but I guess he got sick after we went to dinner last night. Nick, did you get sick? No, right? I got
sick.
I guess Spencer got sick. I don't know. But anyway, Crypto
Did
Dick
he keep drinking or something?
He just got home and started slugging.
I consider. I was like, should I have and I'm like, am I having another drink? I started having a sparkling water that was flavored with some like weird
real fruit
thing. No, there was like hot pepper inside of it, and I was like, this is the weirdest tasting drink. But I'm glad it's not alcohol, because tomorrow morning I'm going to feel like crap if I were to drink any more alcohol. But no, I didn't feel sick.
Okay, so you drank some hot pepper water, as we all drink when we get home. I watched 2 episodes of Beef, and that show, I'm on the last episode now, the finale.
It's so good.
It's so good, but it's so heavy, man. I was like, how am I going to go to sleep now? I had to throw on some Norm Macdonald jokes and just watch him make some ridiculous jokes. But yeah, that show gets heavy. It starts off funny and gets heavy as hell. Anyway, CryptoDickbutts handing over ownership in less than a week. Easy, how do you think that this is going to conclude?
Price go down, as simply put as you possibly can. I mean, dude, like, it's a community-based project. We're seeing all these meme coins now become community coins. It never ends well. Like, you go from people who wanted to try some business venture and drive action that way to now this, like, I don't like who's going to take this over and try to drive action forward and actually deliver on anything, to be honest. Like, I think it's just going to become for the memes, like that's about it. I don't know what the path forward is for it, but I'm not touching it with the 60-foot pole.
Yeah. What do you make of Pepe now? The original Pepe, not the new Pepe they just relaunched. What do you make of that?
I'm massively short Pepe, like massively. The original Pepe. There's, I think, over 100 different Pepe derivatives now. Pepe 1, which is the main one, Pepe 2.0, Pepe 3.0, Pepe Community Token, Pepe 69420. There's literally every one that you could possibly imagine. I don't know. Like, at this point, I wouldn't want to touch Pepe at all. There's just such a negative stigma around it, and people are upset. You also have like a ton of other new coins coming out. You saw the Pepe devs start to buy into a whole bunch of different stuff from like Mog and other meme coins. So I'm looking at it and I'm just like, why would I touch this? Why would I invest in this? Why would I make any sort of play on this when it seems like that price action is only going to continue to decline?
I mean, that's tough. There's some people in the space that have bought a lot of Pepe. It's pretty wild.
OSF seems like he got kind of wrecked on it.
Well, so he's doing that 5K. Yeah, he's doing 5K to 100K challenge, and he's up to like 70K. And like that's Pepe. Yeah, he was gonna break it right before that news dropped on Pepe, and that took him from like 90 or 85K back down to 50. And then he just flipped on to a few other coins and shorts and some stuff. And I was right back in the 70s. Like, he's crushing that trade. And it's all public too. He shares all of it with screenshots of the trades. I'm like, damn, yeah, you're crushing this. That Pepe trade would have put him up. And yeah, since that, it's kind of gotten ugly. But yeah, that's one of the ones that I just wouldn't touch it. I don't see a reason to buy into that. I don't see what the bull case would be. Yeah, it's not one that I want any hands on.
He posted on Twitter.
Yeah. All of his tweets are on Twitter with the trades, and he like publicly shares them.
That is popular. Sorry, Nick.
I'm gonna turn on notifications for OSF now.
But so that's the issue. He shares the trade basically after it's done.
Of course.
After he's closed the position.
Yeah, he doesn't give it beforehand. He only shares the losses and wins after the fact.
Well, Nick, probably because he doesn't want to influence the market. Either way.
I don't know. I mean,
I understand.
I've been in those shoes before. Like, I've been in that exact situation. Bull run Jan in February 2022 with Solana NFTs. I was posting every buy in real time and what my exit targets were. And that was like right when I was at like 10K on Twitter. And then people just started front running the trades and getting out before even I did. Or I would post a trade, it would pump to my exit, and I'd feel like a piece of shit if I exited because there was all these people following that were making the same trade. So I had to shift to like basically only sharing the trades after the fact. And that was the thing. And then people just started finding the wallets from like where I funded it from. So it just becomes like kind of messy. It is all documented though on Rollbit. I think you can actually follow his account on Rollbit and see like what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a small market we're in. It's a really small market, so people will pay attention to the trades that he's making, especially if it's NFT stuff. It's a teeny-weeny market, so it will be impactful. It's not like he's tweeting like, hey, I just bought Microsoft stock, and that's going to move the market. It's not going to. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We will be back. Nick?
We're wrapping right now. I was gonna say, were we gonna discuss BitBoy? Did you want to talk about him, Pio, and pour out some liquor?
You know what? Before we wrap, why don't you just pour out some liquor for BBC, BitBoyCrypto, who I saw.
Is that what we call him now?
BBC, ladies and gentlemen, BitBoyCrypto, who I saw at an event one time, and I was like, this marshmallow has 1 million YouTube followers.
Wow.
I'm like, just
God damn. All right. Well, I was trying to lure you in, and I got him.
BitBoyCrypto
abbreviation one more time.
BBC needs to gain some muscle for me to put some respect on his name for sure. He's just flopping around like the Michelin Man at the Wizards party, the Taproot Wizards party. I can't do it with the guy. I just can't do it. He was such a goober. Anyway, look, I mean, am I surprised by the downfall of BitBoyCrypto? No, I'm not. He also tried to steal our clout going down to the Bahamas 3 weeks after we did, once we proved it was safe, because I guess everybody was scared.
He did a good he at least got into Albany and ended up getting the shot of
the car,
his medication on the car, and then also someone else had a shot of him running down the street SBF. So I mean, he at least did pull that off. I mean, sounds like he got thrown under the bus with some of this stuff, but he's been making some weird moves. It sounds like he was dealing with some substance abuse issues, which is not something to laugh at. I hope the guy gets some treatment, you know, and maybe he turns it around and he launches his own thing and figures it out, and maybe as a result boosts a little bit of his confidence and he becomes less of a goober, as Pio said.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's rugged enough S coins that he should be okay. Hearing me call him a goober, I think he'll survive it.
S coins.
Look, man, BBC's got the S coins. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's your show. We will be back with free NFTs later this week. No free NFT today, ladies and gentlemen. If it's your first time listening, we do the show every day at 9 a.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitter Spaces, live stage, YouTube. We're also going to be uploading the podcast in full on X video format with timestamps because Elon is telling us to. So we're going to listen to him and we're going to see what comes of it. Also available on Apple and Spotify podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Share the show.